Apart from that, we will discuss in detail about the SSO integration, which is the latest feature, deployment option, headless architecture, customization in XM Cloud, demo and Q&A. So in XM Cloud is a headless CMS, all right, and it is a foundation for your composable DXP, and in addition to that, it provides you the latest things, which includes the experience edge, headless services, management services, and these are the key advantages which are available here. For example, SSO, GSS, management services, layout, GraphQL, Azure Blob storage for media, content delivery via edge with connector, embedded personalization. You have the options for cloud deployment, support GitOps, local development you can do using the containers, and automatic update. So here the XM Cloud is a SaaS based platform which gives you the flexibility that you have to focus only your work, which means you can work on your composable things, you can integrate the other services which are composable, and you are not bothered about the maintenance, monitoring. Yeah. So this is the XM Cloud architecture. As we have mentioned that we have the automatic inbuilt deployment feature, deployment services, through which you can deploy your your stuff on the XM Cloud, and Edge gives you the flexibility to publish the content, and through Next.js it can be served to the external world. So we will going to explain you it in more detail in the upcoming presentation slides. These are the available features which we have in the XM Cloud. Like out of the box, we will get the dashboard through which you can invite the other team members. You can manage your projects as well environments. All these things you have the capability to maintain on your own. So which is the part of your Sitecore Cloud portal. We have the inbuilt feature, and since it's a SaaS-based platform, you don't need to worry about your platform upgrades, maintenance, monitoring, hosting. All these things are provided by the Sitecore itself. So in addition to that, you have the command line interface through which you can do the deployment, content sync, push, pull, everything you can manage very easily. The next feature is build and deployment. So as I mentioned, you can create any project, you can create the environment, you can do the builds on XM Cloud as well as Vercel also you can do. So we will cover all these things in upcoming slides. Out of the box, you will get the pages, which is the new feature in XM Cloud, Explorer and Sitecore Forms, which is not available till here. So I believe these things we have already covered since yesterday you have seen in lots of presentation we have already covered. So we are not going in detail in these things, but the key features which we will cover over here is the SSO integration. So recently Sitecore has done that integration, and we have worked very closely with Sitecore to set up the SSO. So I will walk you through all those steps. That will be very easier, and after following these steps, hopefully today itself within a couple of hours or couple of minutes, you will able to set up your XM Cloud with SSO integration. So I'll walk you through. This is the dashboard. Hopefully all of you have seen it already. Yeah. So here if you'll see, apart from XM Cloud, we have the personalized CDP, and this is the basic UI which you will get to add more users on your organization. You can manage your projects, you can do the deployment. So this is your, I can say, the playground from where you can start your XM Cloud journey. Now SSO integration. So till now what was happening, if you will get the subscription of XM Cloud, you will get the by default feature to log in. For example, you have to configure your own credential, and Sitecore provided out of the box feature. Through that option only you can log in into your Sitecore Cloud instance. But now what has been changed, Sitecore introduced a new feature that allow you to choose your own identity provider. When I'm saying identity provider, it can be your Azure AD, Okta, Auth0, or any other identity provider that supports the OpenID framework. So today we are going to discuss about the Azure Active Directory, but more or less the principles will remain same. Okay, so what are the steps? These are the 6 steps which you have to follow to set up the SSO integration, which we are covering with Azure AD. First, you have to register your Sitecore cloud portal on your own open OIDC identity provider, which means, for example, in our case, on Azure portal, you have to register your application. All right. Once your application has been registered, you have to maintain couple of entries, and if you have those entries, you are good to set up the SSO in Sitecore cloud portal. On second step, you have to log in your Sitecore cloud portal and add the new SSO connection. After that, you have to test your connection. If with the out of the box their inbuilt capabilities, you have to test the connection, and once test has been succeed, then you can verify the domain with the mapped connection. And the second last step is to enable the connection, and very last step is to test the with your real users. So let's discuss these things in more detail. For example, you have landed on your Azure, okay, Azure portal over here. You have to set up your application over here. In the left pane, you have to select the app registration, and you can create a new registration. You will land on this page, and here you have to enter couple of things. For example, the name of the application, which I have mentioned in this case, Sitecore SSO Azure AD, and you have to choose the first option for single tenant. The third step is very important. Here you have to select the web in the drop down, and you have to provide callback URL. This is very important thing because callback URL will play the important role, which I will explain later. After entering these three inputs, you have to click on the register, and by default you will land on this page. This page will help you to maintain your client secret key set through certificates and secrets. You will click on new client register, and you have to pass the register name, which in my case I have mentioned Sitecore SSO AZ AD key. All right. Once you will press the submit button over here, you will land on this page, and just capture the value over here, which I have highlighted. In my case, BHU blah blah blah. You can capture this entry because it will help you to maintain or creating the SSO connection. Okay, this is the important step. Here I have mentioned which all entries I may require to set up the SSO connection. For example, callback URL, which in last presentation we have already captured with the web. I have to maintain this one. Client ID, client secret, and tenant key. We have already captured the client secret key. Now the question arises from where I will get the client ID and tenant ID. So if you land on your overview page by default, you can have you will see your client ID and tenant ID. Due to security reason, I have masked it, but here is the place where you will get your client ID and tenant ID. Once you will have your client ID and tenant ID, I am going back to my previous screen, which is here. Now I have my callback URL, client ID, client secret I have already captured from previous screen, tenant ID I have shown. Now the last step is to maintain your well-known or user URL, which is the long URL, but in between that I have masked the XXX. Here you have to maintain your tenant ID, which is here. So this URL will be prepared with the help of tenant ID. Once you have these five inputs with you, we are good to configure our SSO connection. So if you are not very sure about these 5 entries, you can capture the screenshot. Here in detail I have mentioned from where I have captured these 5 entries. All right. So now the second step, we are on second step, add a new SSO connection. Here I have to log in on my portal of Sitecore Cloud, which is portal.sitecorecloud.io. After login, I have to click on the admin, and I will land on this particular screen. Under organization management, I will see the single sign on, which is SSO. And if you will see, by default, I don't have any entry. I'll click on add SSO connection. Yeah. I'll click on add SSO connection. By default, one context menu will open. Through that context menu, I have to select Open ID Connect. and I have to provide this information, which I have already prepared from my Azure portal. What is this detail? Let me walk you through. On first text box, I have to provide email domain, which is my domain name. After that, I have to provide my connection name, which can be anything. For example, Sitecore SSO in my case. Third, from the drop down, I have to select the back channel. The fourth one is issue URL, which we have prepared in our previous screen through the tenant ID, which I have explained you. Fourth one is scopes. In my case, I have maintained open ID, profile, and email. Client ID we have already captured. Client secret we have already captured. Callback URL we have already have. So which means we are ready with our data. Once I will fit this information in my form, now the third step is to test the connection, because these inputs will add more value once my test is passed. Otherwise, it will not make any sense to capture all these information. I will land on my again portal.sitecore cloud IO organization members / SSO page, and now the screen which I presented earlier, you will able to see one entry over here. Sorry, here you will able to see one entry. Now you have to click on test, and once you will click on test, your test connection will a pop-up will appear, and you can start your test. If your entries are correct, you will able to proceed further, and you have to provide your credential, which means your email ID, password, and MFA you have to verify. Once all those things you will enter, you will able to see this particular pop-up, which means SSO connection is working fine. And in case you are not able to see this connection, which means you are doing something wrong, maybe some spell mistake or your tenant ID URL is not working properly, there is some gap. You just re-verify with the previous screen and it should work. Now the next step is our test connection has been succeeded.
The connection name is the same. Now data.
No, those can be different. That was the application name. Here we have mentioned my connection name. It can be different. Now the next step is to verify the domain, because you have configured your application, you have created the connection, but still it will not work because you have to verify the domain. So on the same grid, you will able to see one more option to verify the domain. Once you will click on, or you will land on this particular URL and select your connection, you will able to see one button to verify the domain. Once you will click on domain, you will get this pop-up. Just capture these inputs, and you have to create one TXT record to register your domain. All right. One, you will able to click and your domain has been verified, then all set, which means you are ready to implement all these things. Just you have to enable the connection. Means your domain has been verified, your test connection has been succeeded. Now the last option is just to enable it. Once you will able to click on enable button, you can add more users, which means you can invite other users within your domain as well as external. What will happen in my case, for example, I will invite any external user, I will get the error screen, which is my on right hand side. And in another case, for example, I am inviting the valid users, which means the users from my own domain I am able to invite, because I have set up it against the Azure AD. So it should work in this way. Now, apart from till now, here we have created the SSO connection. We have invited the users, both valid, invalid. Now the second thought can come into how we can proceed further apart from SSO, how things we can deploy, which means the XM thing, XM cloud thing, Versal, all these things will cover in the upcoming slides.
Okay, so basically when we come into a XM cloud, right, we have two parts. One is CM and then the other part is headless, which is front end. So we see that Sitecore is by default providing Git connectors, and through that you can deploy, and you have Versal connectors as well through which you can deploy. But then what if any client is coming and saying, okay, we don't want to use Git repos, right? We have Azure repos and we want to deploy from there. So we will be covering means like from Azure deployment also, how you can deploy through Azure. Okay, so first I'll try to explain through Git, and then the same thing I'll try to explain through Azure. So what I did basically, when you are running deployment, it's actually takes around 5 or 10 minutes. So what I did, I tried to create a video through which I just tried to make it faster, so that it explain all the steps, but it will be a bit quick. So this is the first step, which is actually deployment, which is through directly from portal. So here what if you go log in into this XM Cloud, you have a organization, right? And under an organization, there are projects, and each project can have multiple environments. So if you see, when you will log in on this is actually the deployment screen which you have in XM Cloud. So you can when you click on the projects, you will see all your projects, and then you have deployments where you can see all the deployments of a particular project or your multiple projects which you are running. You can see all the deployments there. Then you have credentials, which actually you are going to use for deployment also, and then there are credentials which you use to connect through GraphQL. So those also you can create from here, credentials. Then connections basically means like you are connecting through Git, and then you are connecting through Vercel. So all those connections you are creating through connection. And system status is basically telling you, if you see the green status there, it means that your system is up to date and there is no issues on your XM Cloud. So yeah, let's proceed on this screen. So like I'm just showing you all the screens, what all you have. So when you are coming on connections, you can have see like GitHub connections or Vercel connection. So what I will do basically, I have created one Git repo, and I'm trying to create my connection. And once I'll do the connection, then I'll try to deploy on Sitecore through that Git connection first. So this is very easy, right? You can directly connect through GitHub. Now my integration is done, right? I can see my name there, and my connection is inbuilt. Now I can go on to projects, okay, and I can create a new project. So it gives you two options. Either you can use directly XM Cloud Starter Foundation, or you can use your Git repo. So I'm gonna select my Git repo, and then it will start my deployment. So it's very easy, right? You will select a Git repo, and then it will ask you certain details like what project name you want to give, and then what environment you want to create, and then you can just start your deployment, and your all the things within your repo. You have already your serialization files and all those things. It will automatically create everything, and you will have your Sitecore instance running. So I'll just play this. So here I'm selecting my Git repo, and I'll just give my connection name. Yeah. So here it's asking for a project name and the repository name. So you can give whatever the name you want. So on this screen, there is one very important thing. Basically, you can give an environment name, and then if you think this is a production environment, you can say yes or no. So, and then one is like a linked branch, which you can link one branch out of your repo. And then there is one thing which is trigger deployment on commit to branch. So basically this means like if you commit into main branch, if I'm selecting main branch, if I commit any changes onto my main branch, it will automatically trigger an deployment into XM Cloud. So once you commit anything, but I think you can use this feature on your lower environments, but not on higher environments. So you can use this feature if you want. So I'll be selecting no here, and then I'll just create the deployment. So once I create it, it will start. It will create an environment, and then it will start the deployment automatically. So if you see here, there are four basic steps that happens. One is provisioning and then build. So if any of these steps fails, your build will not be successful. So build and provisioning both starts simultaneously. So while your build is happening, provisioning at the backend is happening. and then once you both the steps are done, you will have deployment, and after that you can just directly go to your XM cloud and see all the change. But there are certain post actions like serialization and then indexing and all those things happening in the post actions, which can happen parallelly.
We want to deploy in the higher environment. Again, we need to create
No, no. So basically, if you see at the top, now my deployment is success, right? It takes almost, you can see 9 minutes. Okay. So once you have the top at promote, right? You see that. So you can directly click on the promote and you can directly promote this particular build to your higher environments. So once you are doing this on dev environment, you can promote to QA, you can promote the same build to production.
and we automate that so that I
I'll come into that. Yes. So you can click on go to XM Cloud and it will automatically show you like you see one site is automatically created, and then you can go to your content editor and you can see all the contents there. Okay, so this I did through XM Cloud portal, but then there are clients, right, who are managing their code into Azure repos, let's say. So you cannot currently, I think Sitecore is working on it to create an Azure connector also, but it is not available right now. So what you will do if your repo is in Azure? So in that case, you can Sitecore is giving you, right, CLI commands, which you can inbuilt into your pipelines, and through CLI commands you can do the deployment directly to this XM Cloud. So in the next slide, there is another video which I'll show how we can do that same thing, and it will trigger a deployment into this XM Cloud.
do we have any email alerts if we do a deployment to them or any
Then that's what I'm saying. So basically, I don't in XM Cloud it's not there, but in Azure you can do those things, right? Yeah. So this one, I'll be just now. Next step is through Azure pipeline. So first thing, if you want to do a deployment through Azure pipeline, first step is to create an environment. Basically, why I'm creating an environment, because CLI needs an environment ID to deploy to a particular environment. So for that, I need an environment ID first, and then so in this case, what I will do basically, I'll just give an environment name, but I'll not be giving any branch. So it means like I'm not connecting it to the Git repo. So that I can directly do through Azure. So that's why I'm creating a new environment here. Here I'm not linking it to any branch, and I'll just create it, and then I'll get the environment ID. This is the environment ID basically which you use to deploy. So this is a pipeline that I created, which has just one thing you need to do. Basically, you need to create a connection first through the environment ID, where you need three inputs. One is client secret and client ID, which you can create from the credentials window that you have seen, right? From there, you can create a client ID and client secret. And then second thing you need is an environment ID. And there are two commands only that you need to inbuilt into your pipeline, which will automatically can trigger a build into XM Cloud. So this I have just run a pipeline, and when you go into this environment, you can see, you will be able to see a deployment already started here. From Azure pipeline, I can show that again maybe. I'll just not stop here. Yeah, here this is a CLI pipeline into Azure, which you can you can automate this also, right? When to run, when to not run, all those things are there automatically in Azure, right? So you can do those things.
What technique you added in the pipeline?
There is an environment ID. Actually, I missed it into the slide. It is actually an environment ID and client secret and client ID. So there are two commands, Sitecore CLI commands. One is to connect to an environment. For that, you need a client secret and client ID, and then the another command is deploy. So deploy, you need to give an environment ID there, and it will automatically start deployment.
You know, if I have custom containers, how would I design
Custom containers will be within your repo, right? You will automatically have, right?
yeah, basically,
So
let's say create a container for Redis connection. How you will work that?
So first of all, you will have to run that onto your local, right? Whether your Redis connection is working or not. If that is working, and then you can do automations on custom containers. Because see, if you see this repo, right, Sitecore that giving you, it has already some inbuilt containers images that they are using. One is, if you will see, you will see Sitecore CM images already there, right? Kernel and all those things are actually there as an image, and then they have node images also. So they are using all those images, and then they are preparing their own images, which you can say rendering host, and then editing host, and then they have this site called CM, then they have Solar also. So all these are actually images which they are building internally. So if you go into their Docker Compose files, you will be able to understand what all. So if you want to add a custom, you can do that. Like you can, if you want to deploy a front end application, right, through Kubernetes. If you are not, if you don't want to deploy it onto Vercel, you want to deploy it onto Kubernetes, then you can create your image, front end code image, and then you can deploy it to directly to Kubernetes.
CM code will also be the separate, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We have separate Q&A session, and we've already started with J, so we have to cover the topic actually. So sorry.
So this I actually the deployment completed and I clicked on it. So it's taking some time to load, and then once you will see the same screen that you have seen in the before, because the repo is same. So you see this SUGCON India node got created, and it is a site that got created. Okay, and you have all the same content there. So means like it is same process, but it's just you are triggering through as your pipelines. So in next slide, basically I'll try to cover the front end deployment also. So we all know, right, front end is completely headless. So in headless, what all benefits we get when we are doing through headless, and then why Sitecore has selected Next.js, right? If you see their starter kit, they have used Next.js. So what are the benefits of Next.js, and then how we can do the deployment both through Vercel and through Azure pipelines onto this Vercel environment as well. I think this is the same slide. Yeah. So these are the certain benefits that we get out of when we are using headless. Flexibility. Flexibility means, right, you can use any language you want, right? At the front end level, you can use Angular, you can use Next.js, you can use React already, which is your, if you are using like this, you can use .NET Core for development. And content reusability means, like if you are getting the content to GraphQL, right, so you can use it on your mobile devices, on your anywhere you can use the same content, can be served onto multiple channels. Decoupled development, that is the best thing basically, because when we were working on Sitecore before, there was a lot of means like you need to work together, both the front end developers and the front end and the back end developers need to work together, and then there are a lot of dependencies and all. But after this headless thing, it all got resolved now. Both your front end developers can work independently, back end developers can work independently, and this will improve your efficiency for sure. Means like you can. And then next thing is next, why we have selected Next.js. So few of the benefits of Next.js, we all know, right, that Next.js is an extension of React.js. So but why, what all the benefits that we get out of Next.js are very important things. Certain means like it is very smart. So means like even I was very surprised to when I read this benefit of Next.js. It is smart enough that if you load a page, okay, and there are certain links on the page, so at the back end it will automatically create those pages. So means like when a user will click, it will actually be already rendered at the backend and it will automatically render it the page. So it is that smart. Then you have these means like SSR and then ISR and then CSR. So I'll just give a brief demo on ISR and SSR. Basically, SSR you all know, like it is a server side rendering where you can which we used to do when we were using MVC, where we were rendering all the HTMLs into it. So same thing should be into headless also, right? So this Next.js has SSR and it has ISR also, which is more important because why? In ISR you can actually render a whole page and then serve it directly without executing any code again. So what it does basically, it caches your page at the backend for a particular interval of time which you can configure. So it will cache that page, and when a request comes, it will directly, if that time interval is still not gone, then it will serve the page there. And if it is actually that time expires, then it will again create that one request will go and it will create that page again and again keep it in cache and then serve that page. So if new request comes, it will automatically serve from there. So this is ISR. And we know no client side rendering, even everybody is doing it now. It's like whatever you're getting some part of HTML from server side and then some part you will be creating through this client side rendering. But when you have server side rendering, it improves your SEO. Why? Because when let's say you have a listing page, right, and you are all doing some let API calls or something at the client side. So some of the content that is important, which will not be crawled by the crawlers, because that is actually happening after the page loads and then a client side call is going and that which actually rendering them. But you can do that through Next.js directly. You can render that particular section also, and then the whole content will be part of the crawlers. So now in the next slide, I'll again show an it's like video where I'll be deploying on Vercel from XM Cloud portal, and then same thing I'll be deploying through Azure. I think, yeah. Explain. Yeah. So I have already created this SUGCON India, right, project, and it has two environments. One is dev, one is QA. So now I'll be deploying this QA environment so onto Vercel. So you have this section where you can set up an hosting. So when you set up an hosting, it will automatically deploy to Vercel and it will give you the hosting URL. From here, you can click and go to Vercel and see how your page looks. So here it was asking me for a Vercel installation, because basically it is trying to connect to a Vercel environment. So once you will click on that, if you already have, you can select from there. But if you don't have, you can just click on here and it will automatically open this screen where you can just add the integration. So here now my Vercel installation is completed. I can again go into the same environment. I'll try to set up the hosting again. So now when you click on this, you will get an error. If you don't have your Vercel is not connected to your GitHub, then it will give an error. So again, once I'll click here, it will give an error. Then I'll create this GitHub integration as well, because the deployment what is happening is like Vercel and GitHub needs to be connected. Then only you can do the deployment. And I'm changing this name because if you give the same name, the URL will be same. So see, I got an error, right? Because my Vercel and GitHub are not connected. So I'll just connect that as well. Now this is virtual screen. I'll go back to Sitecore and then I can start now. See, I got a domain. It is not that fast. In video, it is fast, but it will take some time. And once you have done that, then it will give you a URL directly, which you will click and you will see your live website. See, this is the website that I have created, and you can see the content and everything. This is deployed on Virtual, the same host which I have clicked. Okay, so we have achieved through XM Cloud, right? And now I'll try to do the same through Azure pipelines. So again, what I will do, there are certain Virtual CLI commands which we can use to deploy to Virtual. So I'll do the same through Azure pipeline by using Virtual CLI commands. I think it is the same slide. Yeah. So here I have already created one this virtual deploy SUGCON India pipeline, where I'll go and I think in this I will show you. Yeah. So if you see this, these are the virtual commands that you need to give. So this actually pulls your repo, and then there are one token that you need, which you will create from virtual settings, which I'll show in the video. And once you have those things available, then you can directly deploy to virtual. So here, if you go onto your virtual account, you can directly go to settings, and from here you can create a token, and that token we are going to use in our pipeline, and it will automatically trigger a build. So here I came into the virtual dashboard, and you see, right, it started building, and then once this is complete, then you can directly visit the website from here. Yeah, this is the screen that I deployed on virtual, and I can see the same content. Uh, that's it, I guess. And next slide, I'll be. Yeah. So one option that we have is virtual, right? But maybe some other options is Docker and Kubernetes. You can directly deploy the same application to Kubernetes also, or any custom server like on Azure. If you have, then you can deploy to there as well, the same application. So it is as per the client need, where they want, we can go. In the next slide, because when I started on Sitecore, the first task that I got was creating a custom field, and then the next was to create a custom workflow. So when I started working on XM Cloud, I said, okay, so they don't have any customization possible now. So I was not happy with that, because this is the best feature that I like. You can customize anything into Sitecore. So I looked into the portal and see what all customizations is still possible. So I've gone through their portal, and there are certain things which you still can customize, and I have done few of the customizations. So this is still possible. Yeah. So I have seen like we cannot create a HTTP request pipeline, right? Because you don't have a CD environment, and you are not hitting your CD, so there is no such pipeline. You're directly using GraphQL, so you cannot create a HTTP request pipeline. But it's not like you don't have any alternative. Next.js has their you can create plugins, middleware plugins, which will be able to do the same things for you which you are actually trying to achieve through request pipelines. So those plugins actually work on each request you are making. Those plugins first work and then your code executed. So if you want some customizations on the same process that you were doing through HTTP request begin pipelines or maybe end pipelines, same things you can do through this Next.js middleware plugins. Like I can give an example. Let's say if you want to add some request headers into your response, that you can do. Or maybe if you want to redirect, add a redirect. All those things you can do through middleware plugins. And then actually I wrote this statement is wrong. Can we create our own MVC controller renderings? But actually it will be your custom resolvers. So yes, you can create your own custom resolvers into Sitecore, XM Cloud as well. That can, but you just have to make sure that you are passing the same response as you are getting from GraphQL, because that response can be customized. So better if you are using the same sort of response that you are getting from this XM GraphQL. So, and the next thing is, can we create custom fields? Yes, we can create custom fields as we used to do in previous. We can do the same, but here you have to be sure, like you are using those schema fields of GraphQL because they are inheriting all those things into this new structure. So you have to be, means like you can go and check how the custom field, means like the fields are actually there in XM Cloud, and the same way you can inherit and create a custom field. Because previous also, right, what we were used to do, we used to take a field, like let's say we want to create a custom drop link, let's say. So what we do, we create this, means like we inherit the same drop link field and then we add some customizations onto it. So same way we can do, we can just go and see how their custom drop link works into XM Cloud, and then we can inherit and create. You can customize layout data as well, sitemap data and redirects, all those things you can easily customize. So there are pipelines which are working, and you can add your own pipeline into it, or you can, all those things you can do. That's it from our side. Uh, if you want to connect with us, you can connect with me on these channels and then with Lalit on this. And if you have any questions, yes, we are open for questions.
Sir, can you take the mic?
Yeah. So if we have the roles in the custom roles we have built in, and as we are using Azure AD, how that get merged with the existing roles if we
Yeah,
have.
so for example, you have created your application over there. The same capability you can utilize over here. Means you, according to your domain, you can invite the users. For example, any user which belongs to you. For example, aa.@forex.com. You can invite any user from that domain. So it will support.
I have one question. If we need to do blue-green deployment, right?
Sorry.
Blue-green deployment, like we don't want our application to be down so how we can do with the XM Cloud? Do you have any idea?
So on XM Cloud, you can, means like on XM Cloud, it's you can just promote, okay. But in Versal you have, so you have option of green and blue, so you can promote your build to production. So you have those environments there. XM Versal, for each project they are giving 3 environments. One is dev, and then there is preview environment, and then there is production environment. So you can deploy to your product preview environment, and then once everything is okay, you can just promote that particular to production.
And when you say that, there is an option of Vercel, and then you showed also there are other options, for example, custom container or
Yeah.
let's say, so that will also communicate with the edge endpoints, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It is actually a standalone application. Your Next.js application is a standalone application which is connecting to your GraphQL endpoint. So you can deploy to anywhere you want. If that particular server where you are deploying is actually supporting Next.js, that's it. You need.
In SSO, the invite users you were showing, that was the same AD users. In SSO, you were showing that invite users, right?
Yeah.
So that was the AD users.
Yes, which are configured according to your domain.
Okay, so that AD user has to be mapped to the app station, right?
Sorry, come again.
that AD user
Yeah.
should be mapped to that specific domain of the app registration.
Yes, yes. That's why we are integrating that. Otherwise, currently you can invite anyone, but now you will have the option. And even in the presentation, I have mentioned the one is invalid user. For example, abc@xyz.com. So we'll not able to invite that user. But if you will, the invited user is from your domain, then you will be able to send the invite.
Hi. So we have been talking about XM Cloud since yesterday. So I have one stupid question. Maybe it's very silly. So do we need .NET background knowledge to in order to work with XM Cloud solutions?
No, I don't. But you need Docker a bit, Docker and Kubernetes
Docker,
to
that's
start.
a different tech stacks. I'm just talking about C#, .NET, and ASP.NET. So
No,
without this knowledge, we can just go ahead with.
no, I would say you better need front end knowledge now rather than your back end knowledge, because everything is means like you will hardly need to write any code now.
So we don't need to push any single C# line to XM Cloud. Is that correct
I
statement?
have not written any code here. The application that I deployed, I have shown you. I have not written any
Is there
code
any
into it.
feasibility that we can do it, or I mean, it's not possible, sir?
You if you want, you can do it. Basically, that I said, right? You have custom resolvers. If you are willing to write custom resolvers, yes, you will have to write it into .NET. And then if you are creating certain custom fields or something, that will be because XM Cloud is at the backend using .NET only, so you will have to write. But means like it will be minimal. Very it's like if we were running certain projects on Sitecore, we might have needed 10 developers. So now it might be only 3 or 2. That's it.
Yeah, great presentation. Thank you. I think on your point of front-end development, it's going to be more front-end. I don't think you need Sitecore knowledge. That's where we're trying to go. But there's always a need of back-end development where you could do middleware. There's one comment I wasn't sure. You were talking about pipelines, and I want to go repeat what Andy say, that you can change things in some cloud, but you really need to think if you want to change. So I really advise you not to change any pipelines, because we'll do automatic upgrades. Because it's a full SaaS product, so try not to customize the content management environment in XM Cloud. The architecture has been re-architected to do things like modern architecture, so use the webhooks to do similar things. So you can do customizations, but you use webhooks, you use events, you use front-end integration or API endpoints. So try really not to customize that XM environment, or if needed, really think is this the only way? Because now we're a SaaS product, we will keep pushing that forward. So if you start customizing that, there's a bigger risk that things might go wrong when we push out new versions. Your lifecycle will never go down, but your content management environment might be hit by that. So really think about what Andy said. If you can change it, do you really need to change it, or is there another way? So we've done a lot on the re-architecture with 10.3 and also in XM Cloud, where there's new webhooks, events, and different ways of customizing. So try not to rip out pipelines. I know I loved it my whole life, but it's not always the right way of doing it. So I think we need to be a bit careful with that one.
Yeah, so basically webhooks, yes, webhooks, if you are like, but if you need to publish something into your GraphQL data, then I don't think we can achieve through GraphQL. That at their end, then we need to customize those pipelines which are there. But I would also recommend to not go there, because it is now a SaaS product, right? And if you go into the deployment, you will see Sitecore is pushing their updates as well. Automatically, you will not be able to know that yes, Sitecore has updated something. So if it is actually needed, then you will do. Otherwise, I'll say it is not recommended at all to do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Thank you.
I have one question. So in the Azure direct deployment, we can promote the higher environment with the promo. Same thing, can we do it in the headless also?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Same pipeline you can run, but you just have to mention another project ID onto your Vercel pipelines, and then it will, or maybe just in the environment, because in your Vercel, here I have mentioned production, right? I've told that there are 3 different environments for Vercel. One is their dev environment, and then they have preview environment, and then production environment. So in the deployment, those Vercel commands, you can mention the environment. So if you want to deploy to production, so you can create 3 different pipelines maybe, and in each pipeline you can mention, or you can take that as a variable into your pipeline, and then which pipeline you want to execute, you can do that, and it will deploy to that particular environment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No? Good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for SSO. I believe you have done SSO and various option of deployment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.